Hi, folks. Welcome to Hitting the Mark with Harry and Mark. I'm your beloved co host, Mark, and this is my even more beloved co host, Harry.
Hello.
And we are two fools
Mm.
who discuss the nuances of our era without any prior understanding. Today, we're joined by Gore Vidal. No. Harry,
Yes.
how was your week?
My week has been not very eventful. Um I'm currently on call, so couldn't go
Bastard.
watch Jurassic Park on Tuesday. We weren't able to watch Lightyear today together.
It's
So
okay.
yeah.
I want you to know that I don't take any of it personally.
Hope not. But yeah, no. Didn't really do anything. Relaxed during the weekend, and that's it. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Let's see. Yeah. I'm trying to think if anything crazy happened, but no, nope. Not
Harry,
this week. What's up?
it does not have to be a constant cavalcade of adventure after adventure. Okay, pal?
Yeah.
You are your own tapestry,
Tapestry.
and it is colorful
Mm-hmm.
and beautiful
Mm.
and spotted
Mm.
in its own hairy kind of way.
Mm. How was
Nothing
your
wrong
week?
with making friends with trees. You know what,
Jeez.
Harry?
Yeah.
My week was fine.
Oh, that's good.
So I took some time
Mm-hmm.
instead of watching Obi-Wan
Yeah.
to watch Under the Banner of Heaven,
Under the
and I
banner of
just
heaven.
I will provide a larger update or review on it next week, but I literally just finished it like fucking 30 minutes before we're hopping on. Needless to say, uh, it's not great. Like I expected it to be better, and it isn't. I'm just gonna say this flat out before anyone knows what it is. It's basically a
A
uh,
miniseries.
yes, it's a mini series detective thriller based off of a book loosely based off of a murder in the 80s or early yeah, in the early 80s.
Mm.
Um in Utah around a fanatical zealot fundamentalist group in uh the Mormon religion or the Mormon faith.
Mm.
Um Yeah, I didn't care for it as much as I thought I would. I really didn't. I also thought it would be not smarter, but I think a little more considerate. Like one of my favorite movies just for like investigating isn't even a cop movie. It's Spotlight.
Mm.
Spotlight is a film that investigates uh the systemic corruption of the Catholic Church in the early their decades long abuse of children and covering up of their
Yes.
abuse. And it details, I think, the Boston Herald. It doesn't matter.
Mm.
Boston news groups attempt to investigate that and kind of piece together what happened to get a full, complete list of how it worked and who was behind it, and to get the full story out, right?
Right.
And this takes aim at an institution beloved by many
Right.
that that is committing these acts, committing these atrocities. And I think this movie does a better job than most at kind of highlighting that like Catholics aren't the problem. Catholics individually are not the problem. This I don't even necessarily think the religion in and of itself is the problem,
Mm.
but the power that it wields and the institutional power that it has over Boston, I think is what they were trying to talk about. That's not the thing that I get in this show. One of the things that I do like, I'll be
Mm.
done with this quickly, I apologize.
No, you're good. You're good.
One of the things I enjoy about Spotlight is it feels very detached. Like there's some very emotional parts in it, but there is there aren't that many close-ups. It's not shaky cam. There's not a lot of music. It reminds me very much of All the President's Men, which is another investigative journalism movie in the late '70s
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
about Watergate, and it's without music. It's a fairly still film. It doesn't rely on a lot of camera techniques to tell the story. The severity of the situation uh, and the minimal camera work does all the heavy lifting, and so does Spotlight.
Okay.
Um, Under the Banner of Heaven feels less like a movie or a show that's trying to talk about this one little slice of psychopaths who murder this woman and her baby, uh, and how the power of an institution is the problem. It's Mormons are fucking crazy,
Right.
which, I mean, granted, I'm an atheist or agnostic atheist, atheistic I don't fucking know.
Agnostic. Yeah.
I don't doubt that there could be something. I just personally don't believe it, if that
Mm-hmm.
makes any sense.
Yeah.
So, granted, I don't care personally. You know, I literally just said I love Spotlight. It's a movie that trashes the Catholic Church. My father was Catholic. Um, you know, I come from fucking New York blood, who is nothing but like go to mass every
Mm-hmm.
Sunday, that kind
Mm-hmm.
of thing.
Yeah.
So, I don't mind, and I'm used to Catholicism in my life. It is a component that I'm familiar with, that I think largely the United States is familiar with. Some kind of uh, baptism, Christian, Catholic esque religion is kind of the thing that a lot of people tend to accept as the norm. Uh, but wouldn't it be weird if in the middle of this Catholic church Boston investigation of child abuse, we get flashbacks of like the apostles and how evil they are or how terrible they really are.
Mm-hmm.
And and like, oh yeah, they schemed behind their backs and they did all these terrible things. And one of the fucking actors, Michael Keaton or Mark Ruffalo, looks at one another and says, "What if Paul did this to Mark because he wanted power?" Or like,
Mm-hmm.
what if what if Saul? I don't know the fucking apostle names, whatever.
Yeah.
But like that, right? And then they show scenes way back 2,000 years ago of like how mischievous and fucking Game of Thronesy they all are, right?
Mm, yeah.
That would kind of ruin the credibility if they're using past footage, historical period footage, to parallel with how awful the church is now, right? That would be
Right.
kind of weird. Like you're thinking, oh, I'm interested in seeing what this nuanced show about
Mm-hmm.
the issues with power associated with the Mormon church might be.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get, ah, Joseph Smith, he ripped these ideas whole cloth and he did it to maintain power over his women. And then uh Brigham Young. Keep in mind, I barely knew anything about any of these fucking people before this show started. So bear with me if I'm fucking ignorant. This is a show about two idiots who talk about things we have no idea what we're talking about.
Yep.
And then Brigham Young, his second in command, who is widely known as the man who pretty much expands the territory of Mormonism, is like this cutthroat guy who, like, the show implies that he intentionally had Joseph Smith killed to further his own agenda of polygamy. I don't know. It's less
Yeah.
an argument on the meditation of like, wow, how does the church influence power in this like city or over the state? And more like, wow, Mormons sure are weird with their like white shirts, right? And their funny
Yeah.
practices. Like come on, dude. Like like I get it.
Mm-hmm.
The Mormons have been kind of the punching bag for a lot of like shit.
Yes.
And yeah, they've got some odd practices, but fucking I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Like I know that they have some controversies with gay rights in the last 20 years. I know that there's been a bunch that, but like the boogeyman that's always been pulled up is like the whole polygamy thing, and I don't really fucking know anything about that other than like no sane contemporary Mormon believes in anything like that. And like the 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 show wants to do this like, I'm the master of the household and you should obey me. I'm like, dude,
Mm.
the fucking Catholics do that shit too. Are you
Right.
fucking kidding me? Like if you made a fucking movie about that, of course I think Catholics should have a right to be fucking mad if you're like making a show that's intentionally shitting on its practices. Like
Mm-hmm.
I get it. Like I don't give a shit about their practices. I don't give a shit about most of the practices. To me, some of them are arbitrary, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't really feel the need to be an asshole about it, which I feel like this show was trying to be.
Okay. Hmm.
And I'll stop there because the more I keep thinking about it, the more I started with like, oh, I'm really hoping they give like a very thoughtful portrayal of Mormon culture,
Mm.
just as I would like with Jewish culture or with Catholic culture
Right.
or with fucking Muslim culture or with fucking all of these other like religious groups.
Yeah.
Like I don't care about them, and I would prefer that these practices remain separate from state
Mm-hmm.
practice, right? Of course,
Yep.
and I am completely down for you to celebrate and worship and share your faith if it does not involve the negation of other people's rights.
Yeah.
But other than that, fucking you wear whatever you want, you say whatever you want. Again, just do not step a foot into someone else's rights.
Yeah.
Which is, to be honest, I don't think I've ever met a Mormon who has been that way. Every kind of impression like that's kind of built up is the Mormonism that's portrayed in this show, which
Okay.
is apparently now like 50 years old, partly because of this fucking controversy. Anyway, finish that show. I thought it would be better because someone reviewed it as the modern or the quote unquote the True Detective season 4 that everyone wants. Um
Hmm.
so yeah, I'll be reviewing that a little more detailed next week if I feel like it.
Yeah.
Uh Star Trek still fucking rocks. Um, Super excited for where they're going. They've introduced what I think is a series regular bad guy,
Oh.
which is
Okay.
cool. I'm really happy for that. Um, hmm. Hmm, hmm, hmm. Work is
Mm-hmm.
still soul crushing,
Yes.
but I have signed back up for school. I've got 3 classes under my belt, and hopefully,
Nice.
I should have my general ed stuff out of the way by next fall semester.
For sure. It's good.
Fasciitis. Yes. That I did the Summer Game Fest. I watched that. It was fine. I typically watch for a couple things anyway.
Yeah.
Um, Fun stuff. It's always interesting seeing a bunch of games released. Uh, that's it. I know. My tapestry is a little thin too.
Yeah.
But whatever. Hey,
Hey,
we're here
whatever.
for each other, baby.
Oh yeah. Um.
Damn straight. What did you
Speak.
want to talk about first?
Let's talk about Summer Game Fest. I know we talked about some stuff that got released on the Thursday last week, but obviously
Mm-hmm.
there's a continuation of stuff that was being released throughout the weekend.
Yes.
So
So the Go ahead.
I was gonna say, so this is not an E3 replacement, right?
No, no, no. E3 will be carrying on next year.
Okay.
I don't know if these are supplemental or if these are new annual additions
Right,
to
right.
the gaming showcase environment or
Mm-hmm.
community. But I mean, they seem to be doing pretty fine without them.
Yeah.
Uh, it does feel a little weird that the E3 is gone, but to be honest, it's just, in my opinion, probably a well, I watched it when I was a kid, so yada yada every year. But they
Yeah.
released a lot of games like front and center,
Yeah. They did.
which I was really impressed with. Stuff that's going to be on Game Pass for this year and then all of next year as well, which I was really impressed with.
Yeah.
Uh, they really knocked it out of the park, I think, in terms of what they showcase. Not necessarily the games or the add-ons or the DLC or whatever, but just the content, the sheer amount of content that they debuted, I thought was pretty good.
Yeah. They did announce a lot of stuff. Yeah, you're right. They did announce a lot of stuff that was um with the Game Pass. There you go. Where it's like as soon as
Mhm.
it's released with the Game Pass and you can play it for free as long as you have Game Pass. I'm trying to find a screenshot of all the games that are coming out, but the ones that
I have a
got
couple. I have the ones that showcase the Game Pass 2022 and 2023 showcase.
launch showcase release date. Oh, let's see that. Uh, no, let's see. No images. Um, here it is. Um, make it bigger. I don't know, or just send me to the website. I needed the actual thing, dude.
Game Pass 2022-2023 list is what I searched.
Yeah.
Try that.
No.
Yeah, just do that
I
because
have
that's what
it
I have.
I have it here.
Looking
It's
at
just
Vin
being a
Diesel's
little
biceps.
bitch.
Batch.
How do I just okay. Well, I want to make this bigger. That's what I want to do. I want to
Buddy, people have been doing that
open
for
image in new tab.
years.
Okay. Here we go. Whatever. Control plus. All right. Obviously um hold on.
Hey, I got you. Hey, this is our we go at our pace.
Okay,
You hear me,
so
pal?
I think we discussed the Callisto Protocol, the Dead Space continuation, or
Yeah,
sorry, the whatever,
the not Dead
the
Space.
not Dead Space for this year sometime. I think winter is what they said. For next year, what I'm stoked about is a Diablo 4. That is what
I've
I'm stoked out of my
heard.
mind.
I'm seeing a lot of people disappointed with some of the extending life gameplay and some of the mechanics. I'm not really sure. I like you might as well be like explaining fucking quantum mechanics to like a chimpanzee. But I'm hearing that they returned to a more agreeable art design instead of the cutified bullshit that they did with the third one.
Yeah, so basically, Diablo 4 is what Diablo 3 should have been. From what I've seen, from what others have seen, obviously you are gonna have some people who just don't like the game, for multiple reasons. But from what I've seen, it looks good. It looks
Hmm.
like something that I'm gonna play for a long time. Um,
Ooh.
it's just um yeah, it looks great. It's there's a lot of quality of life things that they're bringing from D3 forward, and they're bringing stuff that was already in D2 forward.
Mhm.
Hopefully they don't ruin D4 the way D3 went. But we will see. But I'm excited for it. So that's one game that I was super stoked about. Um, and I'm sure for BlizzCon this year they're gonna go into more depth because yeah, next year is um not too far away. You know, it's already June. We're halfway through the year. Um,
Oh my God, Jesus! Thank you for that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Um,
Ugh.
the Dead Space remake or the remaster, whatever it's gonna be. Um, I'm excited because I haven't played Dead Space in a long time. And it was a really good game. I loved it. And also on here is Arc 2. We played a little bit of Arc.
Ah,
Um,
yes, the Vin Diesel Flintstones live
yes,
action movie.
exactly.
Yeah, I
So
can't wait.
I'm sure Ved's gonna drag us along with Arc 2, possibly.
I
Um,
don't, I don't know. Like when I see Arc 2, I feel like a studio got its grubby little mitts over it, and it's gonna
mhm.
focus less on some of the more technical stuff, right? And be
Yeah,
way more, I think, narrowed. That's just me. I'm just going off of, intuiting that.
yeah,
But
yeah.
when I see a trailer like that with a big name, I feel like
Mm-hmm.
a lot of caveats came with that.
Probably. Yeah, yeah. I would probably get behind that and wouldn't be surprised. Uh, the only other game on here that I'm like kind of looking forward to, but I think it's just nostalgia.
Mhm.
90% sure it's nostalgia. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. Um,
How did I know?
yeah. I, I'm like I want to play the single player, right? The multiplayer, I'm kind of like they're not
Eh.
gonna. I don't know if yeah, I'm like but what I do like is I hope this is what I'm what it sounds like from what they've said is like how have you played Warzone since the last time we played? Like basically
No.
almost like a year ago. Okay, so Vet and I have played a couple times, and the game's awful. The new map's bad. You only have that new map, so Verdansk is gone. You can't play it. Um, and you remember that they're incorporating the new guns from the new games, right? And there's
Mhm.
just a really bad like balancing issues with it. And you had to like they had to make it viable because they're going against like they're like supposedly like older guns from like the 80s and before
I hate it.
and they're trying to uh compete against guns that are of recent times kind of thing. So that was the issue with Warzone, right? And they continued it because with Vanguard they did this thing where guns have like can have up to 10 attachments. And so I think they learned their lesson where like, hey, trying to incorporate guns and mechanics uh from a game every year is probably bad. And yes,
Not a good idea.
it's not a good idea. Um and they added like new perks and they just did a lot of things that just didn't work in a BR. Like we understand seasons, right? Like there's like, oh, we're gonna add new things or whatever, blah blah blah. Like, the whole battle pass bullshit. So it's
Mhm.
like I get it, you want to make it fresh and whatever, but um it's just what they tried to do just didn't work. And so
Yeah.
what they're doing with the release of Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 and the release of Warzone 2 is they're going to stick to this for 2 years minimum.
Ooh, commitment. That'll be
Yes.
frightening.
So they'll I'm sure for the games, the multiplayers, they're going to do some stuff here and there to like change it up. Like I don't know if they'll add new guns. Most likely they will. I'm pretty sure they will. But I think it's different when you're adding guns that are like from like the same like fr- I don't know if franchise, but like the same consistent story where like if you're bringing Modern Warfare and Black Ops, which two completely different stories, into the
Mhm.
same world, the guns aren't going to work out, right? Because Black Ops is meant to be like a, you know, 70s, 60s, 80s,
Yeah, kind of like a
lore.
thriller adventure espionage
Y-
shooter.
Yeah, and from, back in the day where like Modern Warfare is like literally like modern guns, so they're going to be more high efficient than guns that
Mhm.
were made 30, 40, 50 years ago. Um so uh having companies that are working for that are going to be working for with the same game and the same like storyline and everything for a while, like I think it's going to work out better. I
Mhm.
don't know if it'll be like, so because they said 2 years minimum with the Warzone 2 and Modern Warfare 2. Um, I don't know how it's going to go after that, because it's nice that we're not going to be like, oh, every year there's a new Call of Duty, here's another 60, $70, so I can play the new game, blah, blah, blah. Like, I don't know if I'll drop down money as soon as the game comes out, uh,
Mhm.
just because I just don't want to. I don't want to pay that much for um the for a game that I'm probably only going to play the single player with. Like, I want to play the
Yeah.
single player because I want to see the continuation of the story, but I don't want to play the multiplayer as of right now, because I wasn't the biggest fan of the multiplayer of the 2019 Modern Warfare. Um,
Mhm.
so I don't have high hopes for Modern Warfare 2. The
Yeah, I see it.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't want to spend that much money for a single player. And then Warzone 2 is going to be free to play, so I don't have to worry about spending money on that.
That's Warzone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get you. I think I don't know. I feel like there's an attempt to kind of well, there isn't an attempt. Bleh, I don't feel like there's an attempt. There is an attempt to rebrand,
Hmm.
kind of re-envision Call of Duty. It's kind of
Yeah.
eh, it did this bit where it had a bunch of different developers, what Raven, Treyarch, they
Hmm.
each did Future Warfare, Ghosts, Black Ops, what is it, Advanced Warfare, and they all kind of branched out and did their own thing. And now it feels more like they've acknowledged that, like, maybe they haven't acknowledged, but I think maybe they just feel like they need to continue the franchise,
Hmm.
but less of it.
Right.
So I think they're trying to put the Black Ops era a little bit in with the Modern Warfare era, kind of give them a little bit of a link. I don't know. Not entirely sure. I haven't been following too much up on it actually.
Yeah. It seems like it, but I mean, we don't know what's happening behind closed doors. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think I can second that, where they're trying to rebrand, because there is a funny like a graph that was shown on Twitter at some point, where the amount of people that were playing Call of Duty, throughout the past few years, and obviously in the beginning of the pandemic and when Warzone first came out, like, there's tons and tons of people playing Call of Duty.
Hmm.
But then once Blackouts came out, or the newest Black Ops came out, it dropped dramatically. Like, it was just dropping, and then Black Ops came out, like it kind of went up a little bit, but then just kept going down. And then when Vanguard came out, it just kept going down. Like, nobody cared anymore. It's just like,
Hmm.
what really sold Call of Duty was Warzone. Like, that was hands down what sold
Yeah,
Like,
bit of a
why?
reinvention, a facelift.
Yeah, because it was like, okay, it's a free to play game, and it's a BR. Call of Duty hasn't come out with a BR yet, and it's free to play, and of course, people loved it. So, I was like, I was the one who told you guys at first, like, dude, you should try Warzone. It's free, because it's like
Yeah,
you don't have to pay
then I
anything.
played it, and
Yeah,
then I played it in front of the guys, and they're like, "Oh, that looks cool."
yeah. So, it was like it doesn't hurt. It's like when I tell people who don't play Magic, I'm like, oh hey, there's this thing called Magic Arena. It's free to play, and you get to learn how to play Magic. Like, it's a win-win. So as much as I'm not the biggest fan of Magic Arena, it's literally a way to learn how to play Magic for free.
Oh, yeah.
So you know what I mean. So like Warzone is just like, hey, it's a BR Call of Duty for free. If you don't like it, you just uninstall it. You
And
know,
then you're done.
and then you're
Yeah.
done. It's like, but if you want to just hop on and play a couple games with your friends, like, hey, there it is. So that's obviously what sold Warzone. And when Warzone 2 comes out, I'm pretty sure it'll get some people to play again. But as I discussed with you before, um, I don't think it's going to get that many people as last time. Uh,
Yeah,
I
we'll
still,
see.
it's just,
I think I think part of the what is it? Part of the goal or part of the strategy is to try to get the new generation because there's always constantly growing or constantly renewing generations of gamers. I think it's
yeah.
just a matter of like figuring out how to target the next or the intermittent group of gamers.
Yeah. I just
And I just oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, I think what really sold Warzone the first time was obviously the whole free to play thing, but also what I realized is pandemic, because everyone was
Hmm.
locked up, not knowing what to do and everything. That, hey, here's this BR that all your friends are playing, you might as well play it too, so you can play with your friends. And it's cross platform, so they can have an Xbox and you can have a PlayStation, your other friend can have a PC, you can all play together. It's like, oh, that's actually really fucking cool. It's like, you know, that's what and it's funny because Diablo 4 has announced that it's gonna do that too, where it's cross save, cross play.
Hmm.
You can have a PC, you can have a PlayStation, you can have an Xbox, and all three of you can play Diablo 4 together. And Aved was like, hey, it's like we've been asking for this for fucking, decades, and they finally are giving it to us. Like, there's so many games out right now that are doing that, where it's, if it's a multiplayer game and it's meant to play with friends online, like you're able to play with your friends online. Not, it doesn't matter what system they're in, you get to play with your friends, which is awesome. Like, that's what everyone's really wanted. Um, and so with Warzone, that's what really sold, right? Like being able to play with your friends, no matter what console you have.
Oh yeah,
That's what really
that's
sold.
that's going to be, I think, another big driving factor. Crossplay, because
Yeah,
crossplay is it's something that like select games have. It's something
yeah,
that's being pushed largely by the consumers, by gamers to have more of.
yeah.
So
But
hopefully that comes about just
yeah,
on a larger scale, on a global scale.
yeah. I'm sure it's gonna. Other than that, we have Redfall. I know you might have wanted
Redfall.
to.
I want Spider-Man. Fuck. Redfall was good.
Hmm,
Redfall was pretty much exactly what I expected. Okay, so they at the Summer Game Fest, they released about a 5.5 minute gameplay trailer, uh, which showcased some of the single player, uh, most of the co-op multiplayer, uh, and kind of the overall story, the mood, the vibe, some of the gameplay. Um, Ooh, where do I want to begin? Because I don't want to be too long on it.
that's fine.
Um,
Go for it, man.
so I think as a as someone who watched it, I feel that they did not do a solid enough job of conveying how much story there would be. Um, so basically, you play one of four characters. You can
Okay.
play the game solo in two open area environments, or you can go about the story with a total of four people. You can
Mm-hmm.
also play the game all four of your compatriots as the same character,
Okay.
um, fighting, I believe, three factions. What I would imagine are like the private military on the island,
Mm-hmm.
the cultists who follow the vampires, and the vampires themselves.
Okay.
Um, there seems to be some loot mechanics, but it doesn't seem to be that. Uh, it does not seem to be that large. It
Mm-hmm.
seems very. I don't want to say neutered because I don't. I equate neutered to something bad, or
Mm-hmm.
I assign it a negative connotation. This I don't quite believe that this game is being marketed as a long-term looter shooter. I really don't. I think it is a co-op Left for Dead like game. I don't think this is necessarily a copy of Left for Dead, but it does have a co-op fantasy horror kind of vibe to it.
Okay.
Uh, with four interesting characters who have to survive and shoot their way out of issues with some scaled weapon qualities. I don't believe there are significant dungeons the way like a looter shooter would be, or raids.
Yeah.
Um, so the basic premise is the town of Redfall, Massachusetts, an island town, is overrun by vampires. They've blotted out the sun and they've pushed the ocean, or the waters have receded, so they're cut off from the mainland.
Okay.
Uh, and they the four members of your group have to repel the vampire horde. And to do that, it seems like they have to close these four gates or these four hives.
Okay.
Um, they've gotten into the point of saying that you can do kind of a basic close the hive, or you can do like what I would imagine is kind of like a hard mode version where you go into this alternate reality of a vampire hive. Essentially, they're adding kind of like a sciency fantasy thing to it, where it's like the vampires share kind of like a collective psychic mind, and you
Mm.
can kind of break into that and then destroy the hive from within in this little area. We don't quite know that much yet. Um, but once you select a character,
Mm-hmm.
you're stuck with that character. You can't uh, select a new character anyway during the game unless you make a new game, and you can level that character up. I they said somewhere up to 40 or 50. I'm not quite sure, that could change, but there is a level cap. So there is some looter shooter qualities to it, but what I'm appreciating is I'm not getting the vibe that this is an infinite game, similar to how Destiny is just
Yeah.
this continuous, like, season after season. I'm getting the impression that this is a finite game. There is a story that they intend to tell, and it intends to end, and there is some replay value to it. Leveling up your character, um, playing uh, kind of like a new game plus to continue leveling up your character,
Yeah.
and then playing again as a different character and doing that leveling process. You can find weapons uh, that have how would I want to leveled weapons? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
leveled weapons. You have skill trees. All of this stuff does kind of feel like a looter shooter, but, again, given that it's arcane, And given what I've seen, I don't get the impression that this is, again, going to be one of these infinite kinds of games that just keeps going. I do get the impression that this is very looter shooter light, and the looter shooter mechanics are simply a way of padding a runtime,
Yeah.
which I don't mind. I was very apprehensive about seeing this and hearing answers to it because I was really worried that they were going to make this like a forever online game. There are online
Mm.
things, of course. You are playing possibly with four other or three other people,
Yeah.
uh, co-oping, and you can go through the story. You can do whatever, but it feels very limited.
Mhm.
Um, the environment, Redfall, Massachusetts, seems to be divided into two areas that are blocked by story. There seems to be the main urban area and then kind of like a farmland towny version, both
Okay.
separated again by portions of the story, but both seem to be very large. A lot of it seems to be they didn't really give us much in terms of exploration. They gave us a couple action sequences.
Okay.
Um, so I don't really know how much of it is like open in the sense that you're kind of like what doing like State of Decay where you're just going into like, oh, go to the gas station, oh, here's fuel and resources, or like, oh,
Mm.
go into uh the the gun
Mm.
shop, oh, here's a bunch of fucking guns, and then oh look, here's your base.
Yeah.
Um so I'm interested in seeing where this is going. I really am, because I was really, really scared that this was going to be like an online marketplace, which is kind of what Destiny is, or like Raid Shadow Legends. No, uh, or any other one of those kind of looter games
Yeah.
that just kind of milks the gameplay replayability.
Mhm.
Um, it was delayed, so it went from late 2022 to early, I believe, quarter
Um.
2023, and
Yeah.
available on Game Pass.
Yes.
I'm interested, always a little apprehensive till I see a little more gameplay.
Mm.
It did not disappoint. For the most part, from the impression that I got, I was actually pleasantly surprised at how I keep saying it, but it's just because I'm glad that it feels smaller.
Yeah.
Like, I can't begin to tell you how much I was worrying that this would be something like Destiny, where it would be like, oh, you've killed your 60th vampire and you get
Mm.
this one of a kind armor, and next season the vampire king half brother has arisen and you're gonna pay that reckoning and play it
Mm.
with all
Yeah.
new skins, and then you get the holiday skin. I'm
Right. Right.
sure they will probably do some kind of add-on or something,
Yeah.
but I am glad that I saw a lot of Arcane in there. I'm hoping to see more Arcane. I am hoping that this does feel more akin to an immersive sim.
Yeah.
Uh, Deathloop was a little watered down for me. I think
Mm.
at the moment, Prey, I think, is the quintessential immersive sim for Arcane. Prey Moon Crash, to be exact,
Mhm.
I think is the pinnacle of their gameplay or their gameplay model. Deathloop, I felt, was a little watered down in favor of a run and gun kind of audience. Nothing wrong with
Okay.
that. I love Deathloop,
Mhm.
um, but I do feel that some of the play your way mechanics kind of got a little sidetracked.
Yeah.
I do feel as though this is going to be the same thing for Redfall, um, but I still would like some of that gameplay DNA in there, even
Mhm.
if it is not as much as you know. Holding it, in comparison to Prey, I don't think is fair. But I have come to expect a degree of similarity in characteristics with most Arcane games, and I say that in a good way because
Mhm.
I do think for all the criticisms that you could make about Arcane sticking to the same formula, it's a formula that works, and it's a formula that I don't uh, begrudge them.
Okay, fair enough.
So, Redfall, interested, looking forward to it.
So I will most likely join you on your adventures.
Fuck
Uh,
yeah, dude.
next up would be Starfield. Um,
Starfield.
yeah,
Okay. So they released a 15-minute preview, which was a short demo, uh, a couple of not tech, but how do I want to put it? Mechanics previews and kind of a general overall uh, unveiling. This is the first time that we've gotten actual gameplay, visualization of like where the characters are going, what they're doing, what their motivation is. Um, it seems to have kind of like an interstellar movie meets Outer Worlds,
mm-hmm.
Not Bethesda, Obsidian kind of vibe. Uh, you play a traveler, an astronaut who gives a fuck in the 24th century when human beings have kind of expanded into a nearby galaxy and have settled that or a solar system in this neighboring galaxy, and you have to kind of maneuver around all of the eccentricities of their respective factions.
Okay,
Um, I was a little disappointed. I uh, I will admit the hype got to me a bit.
right,
You
right,
know, I don't think unveiling Starfield and whatever the fuck Elder Scrolls 6 is going to be called, like
yeah,
10 fucking years before it's going to be released
right,
was a particularly good idea. Um, Hype is very much like a rubber band. If you pull it too much, it'll just snap. And I
yeah,
do think for me in this case, it did get the better of me. I was really expecting a very kind of ground up rebuilding of what Bethesda. That's not fair. Hold on. I could say the same thing about Arcane. I expected a little more with the pomp and circumstance that they put into Starfield.
okay,
Uh, the the gameplay demo was disappointing. You're placed on this gray planet, uh, running for half of it with some frame rate issues, uh, some gunplay, and that's it. And then you get a preview of like, well, these are all the planets that you'll get to go to, and these are the factions that you'll interact with. And it felt a little generic. Like I'm glad they are returning to a silent protagonist and a first person dialogue. Uh, but I mean, other than that, I don't
mm-hmm.
really know much about any of the mechanics that they have. They seem to be introducing perks back into uh their gameplay mechanics.
Okay,
Perks are the funnest fucking things on the planet.
yes,
Uh one of my one of my favorite bits is when I was trying to play Fallout New Vegas. Uh I stopped playing after a couple years, and then I got back into it a little bit after I watched an H bomb video. And uh one of the perks is what, Deadeye or Four Eyes or something,
mm,
where you get a benefit that boosts your no, you oh god, I can't quite remember the perk. Anyway, I just like the idea of it adding to an extra layer of your role playing. So I think that'll be interesting if they do introduce that.
yeah,
But I can't see that much more of what they introduced. The rest is just honestly recycled replayability extending stuff that Fallout 4 had,
Yeah.
which I thought was really disappointing when I gave it like a second thought. At first, I was like, "Oh, the weapon customization is kind of fun,"
Yeah.
and then I realized, wait, it's just because I like the weapon, the futuristic looking weapon, but they're
Mhm.
really just doing the same thing that they did with crafting in Fallout 4.
Yeah.
Really, it's just with a different skin, and then they have base building, and I was like, "Oh,
Yeah.
that's kind of cool. You're building like this cool uh astro habitat," and I'm like, "No, wait." It's just a refined base building that I fucking hated in Fallout 4 that,
Mhm.
fucking Garvey would be like, "Oh no, there's attack on the Minutemen need your help. Oh no." And that was never fun.
Yeah.
Uh, so the idea of having a base
Mhm.
that just helps you what, collect resources, I don't know. So in the demo, you can scan objects and you
Mhm.
also have uh minerals or raw materials, kind of like you did in No Man's Sky, which you can mine, which
Oh,
means
okay.
you use these resources to craft things,
Hmm.
which means that the base building is not just like, hey, build a cool place like you could in Skyrim and just fucking enjoy it. Now it's like, oh, hey, here's a place where you can recruit people to come to your habitat and help you fucking farm materials to make weapons, to farm more materials to make more weapons.
Mhm.
Which, as short term satisfying that loop can be, to me that dies out pretty quick.
Mhm.
Um, there is some space combat,
Yeah.
but I can't quite tell if it's any good because I haven't gotten my hands on it. Uh, and some of it is determined by the customizability of your ship, which again you can populate with a bunch of people. You can fit or retrofit or customize depending on what your preference is,
Yeah.
speed, cargo size, weapons, maneuverability, so on and so forth. Um, Again, hey, here's stuff for resource management or like so on and so forth, which I don't know. I'm getting a very resource management heavy vibe. And in theory, these are fun concepts, right? Like, I like the idea of building a cool fucking habitat on like this beautiful planet, right? And
Mhm.
just walking out and seeing that. And like, oh, I can populate my cool habitat and it's mine, right?
Yeah.
Like that's fun. That's an interesting role playing perspective.
Yes.
Like, oh, cool, I have this thing, it's mine. I can put people in it that I've chosen, and they research shit that I want them to research, and I can do the same thing with my spaceship. Like, I can actually customize it. I can put components on it. It's like for its
Mhm. Mhm.
thrust, for its maneuverability, and it looks different with everything that I put on it or take off. Like, that's cool. But when I was doing this for Fallout, it was tedious and it wasn't
Yeah.
fulfilling. Well, none of that game was fulfilling, let's be honest. But I mean, I
Yes.
was I was hoping that the effort that I put into the base building
Yeah.
or the resource collection would do something for me, and it didn't. And I found
Right.
myself for the first time just kind of ignoring the side quest of building my base.
Mhm.
Like, I hate the idea of, like, leaving something to pasture or
Yeah.
just leaving it and people getting picked off. Like, my ass fucking feels bad when all the Marines in Halo don't make it to the end of a fucking level because I let them all fucking die. Like,
Right, right, right.
that shit bums me out. So when I'm, like, willfully ignoring a huge component of the later portion of Fallout in favor of a story, which, mind you, also wasn't very fulfilling, but it was a
Mhm.
portion of the game that I enjoyed. The what is it, the role playing quality,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
That's saying something. And
Mm-hmm.
don't get me wrong, I'm not like, oh, I'm a huge Bethesda fan, or like I'm an anti Bethesdaist, but
Uh-huh.
I do think maybe toning down some of these things is probably a preferable idea, at least to me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, when I see this, I just feel a sense of I get a lack of focus from them when I hear about this, when I see this, especially when at the end of it, as if to impress everyone,
Mm-hmm.
they previewed, oh, Todd Howard comes out and he's in that like awful brown
Mm-hmm.
perfect leather jacket that you can tell he probably just bought for that event.
Yeah.
And he says, I'm going to give you a look at all the worlds you can explore. And they pull out of the main planet, and you see this planet, you can go anywhere you want on it. I'm like, that's not really true. And to be fair, that's really exhausting,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, oh, so best case scenario is for them is the entire planet is procedural, and you can explore you can actually explore every inch, which should probably mean we have one or two big cities on the planet, and everything else is just dog shit little settlements or just rock, right? With like
Yeah.
sparsely populated like areas,
Mm-hmm.
which is not enjoyable.
Right.
Worst case scenario is it's literally just you pull out of the planet, which it looks like you do in the trailer. You select any portion of the planet you want to go on with some kind of cursor on the planet. You go into a cutscene of the fucking ship lowering down into the atmosphere, and then you go into some procedurally generated rock like 60 miles wide or 60
Mm-hmm.
square
Mm-hmm.
miles wide,
Yeah.
and then that's it. And then you could pull out and you could go on the opposite side and get a slightly different version of the same thing. So you're basically just reloading some random area that's just procedurally generated, which it ruins the mystique a little bit. But see,
Yeah.
that's not the only bit, because apparently that wasn't exhausting enough,
Mm-hmm.
because apparently there are hundreds or a hundred, about over Jesus, that was bad, over 100 of these planets that you can
Oh.
just kind of explore and do, which is just, again, what what role playing quality does that have? Like, is there a planet specific where like a competition is being held for like a headhunter because there's a species of like really violent animal, right, that you have to find? Or I don't know, is there like a quest for like a compound or a flower on a planet that gives people immortality? Or like, do you have to go planet hopping to stop like slavers, right? Like, I
Yeah.
doubt that will be something that you do, or those will be things that you get to do when on these planets. I genuinely get the impression that these planets are just going to be no man's sky, like just devoid of everything except for rocks that you have to scan. Don't get me wrong, they'll be pretty, they'll be gorgeous, and I'm sure there'll be one or two things that you could do, but they will be empty.
Yeah.
I'm more than willing to eat my hat on this. No, wrong expression. I'm more than willing to admit that I could be wrong.
Yeah.
And fuck, they put in like a bajillion hours, and almost every one of these planets at least has something to do.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't be hard to imagine you got like what, 110, 120 planets, maybe 150 missions,
Yeah.
right? Or 150 like dungeons,
Yeah.
which would also be a little disappointing if you went to this planet and you scanned, you landed, and there was just one dungeon on the entire planet.
Yeah.
Mm, So I'd like to see it. I'm willing to give it a play, but I am so uninspired by the uninspiring mechanics that they've decided to tack on
Right.
to make me play longer. When
Yes.
I played when I played Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas, you know, fuck it. Even when I play Skyrim,
Yeah.
um, I do get a sense of a beginning, a middle, and an end.
Yes.
Or at least I get an idea that there is a finite quality to it. Skyrim is huge,
Mm-hmm.
and mods will make it almost infinite, but the
Yeah.
game was designed to end for the most
Yes.
part. More so with Fallout 3 and New Vegas. New Vegas, I always got the impression that the things I did were culminating in something. Whereas Fallout 4 didn't give me that feeling at all. And I'm
Right.
worried with all of the things that they're kind of transplanting into what Starfield is that I'm gonna have the same feeling. They have a couple of different factions. They've got like the rich people group. They've got like
Mm.
the frontier lawman group. They've got like the astronaut archaeologist group, and then they've got the the Yarg pirate group. And I'm
Yarg.
wondering what yeah, exactly. But again, I don't really think they handled uh any of the factions in Fallout 4 all that well. Like I get it. Fallout 4 isn't their only game. I've never quite been the biggest fan of Bethesda's lineup, but it's like
Yeah.
I do think there is some validity in saying like, hey, Fallout 4 wasn't that great of a game. Um and I'm seeing a lot of the same things that did not make it particularly good in this game.
Mm-hmm.
Uh and it's taking away from the role playing and it's taking away from I think the impact that you
Yeah.
could be putting into like, hey, um Fallout New Vegas managed to do a great portion with very little time and a lot more payoff, right?
Yes.
Like, what's the I didn't even fucking realize if you bring one of the companions along to the what's that shit that they do with the Brotherhood? If you
Yeah.
find them, they make you do all that fucking busy work, right?
Yes.
And I played that entire fucking game not fucking knowing that one of the companions gets you in like for free,
Oh.
right?
Yeah.
Like that's so fucking cool. And depending on how you play, you can corral these fuckers, these assholes into actually fighting for you. You could do the same thing with the Enclave. Like at the end when you're fighting on Hoover Dam, if
Yeah.
you have all of the fucking factions fighting for you against the Legion, and let's be honest, I'm always against the fucking Legion. I never want to play the fucking Legion.
Yep.
That feels so fucking like satisfying, right? That
Yeah.
like you manage to play and convince or like persuade or threaten your way into getting the fucking cons, getting the fucking boomers, getting the fucking enclave and the fucking brotherhood to help
Right.
the new California Republic fight these fucking loincloth wearing motherfuckers. That's so satisfying. And then like Fallout 4 comes along and I get fucking patronized for blowing up like the robot human replacing people. Like I can't begin to tell you how fucking angry that made me. So um yeah, fuck you, Garvey. Uh I hope that they make factions good. I really do. I really hope that they add like a choice quality to it. Nothing too
Mm.
crazy like they did. I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with it. I feel like I'm not making sense with that. But anyway,
Fine.
it's interesting. Like I'm okay with the visual style.
Mm-hmm.
I'm okay with how it seems. Uh I really do want a a slimmed down version of the game. But
Mm.
I'm willing to give it a shot. I'm willing to play it um, in 2023 when it's being released, first quarter. Uh, Fingers crossed that it's good.
Yeah.
I want all games to succeed because I am a good person with good human thoughts.
Mm. Well, for someone who did not invest anywhere near as much time into Fallout
We're not
4
talking about time. Nope, nope, no.
as anything else, um, I think the building mechanics, the I forgot what it's called, but I think for Fallout 4 it was just not that great. I know a couple of people who really enjoyed it. They enjoyed
Mhm.
basically, to me it looked like Minecraft. You know how Minecraft you build stuff and do all this stuff and
Yeah.
whatever. It reminded me of that. I wasn't a fan of it, but I know people who really got into it. Um,
Mhm.
but the way,
No, again,
y-
if I'm doing the base building stuff and the defending with other people,
mhm,
that's a quality that I enjoy. But I do think there's a difference between me just building it.
mhm,
Don't get me wrong. If you want to build something like because I do too, that's fulfilling. That can be fulfilling. But there was something missing or like a decision making that happened that just kind of sapped the point out of it, I think.
yeah, and I can see that. But with the Starfield, I think basically they are gonna get what they did with Fallout 4 and just learn off of what didn't work off of Fallout 4 and
Hmm.
make it better, obviously. And because that was the first time that they brought that into, you know,
Yeah, of
you know,
course.
yeah, into the, at least heavily like that, right? You could kind of do it in Skyrim, but not really. And this one was, you can, build a bunch of different stuff and defend your place and whatever. So this one, I mean, it does sound really cool, like you said, that you're building like a space, you know, area where you can, like a base, right? Like a base in a
Yeah.
planet where you can, and that is like for me, like I'm not the biggest fan of like building and all that stuff, but I think the
Like
idea is
it's
cool.
fun in theory, yeah,
Yeah.
right? Like it's like
Yeah.
cool, I want something that's mine.
Mm-hmm.
That's mine in like in the purest sense when I'm playing, right?
Yeah. Right.
But
Right.
there's a piece missing, I think.
Mm.
Because that's the thing that gets me in terms of gameplay is, I put all this effort into trying to collect the resources to build it, to find the perfect spot, and then I build it, and then what? Oh, well, okay, well, you hire a bunch of people. Okay, well now I have to hire them and bring them along to do what? Oh, we have to protect them so that they can make stuff. Okay, and I do that, and I keep doing that, and I keep doing that, and it takes away from the story that I'm trying to complete, that I'm
Right.
trying to get like the most out of. I'm not saying I want to complete it just to complete it. I want to play it to experience it, which is what I'm being taken away from when, again, Marcus Garvey is telling me that this place that I need to to take care of is being ramshackled by fucking space goblins. No, sci-fi goblins.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I just feel like I think it can work. Like,
Hmm.
yeah, I think it can work. I think they can learn from their mistakes of Fallout 4 and make it work because I think it makes more sense in a space exploration game than
Hmm.
a world like Fallout 4. Like it's not too far fetched, right? Where like, okay, you just build a base and defend against raiders. Like, okay, that's cool, but you know, uh, yeah, it gets kind of boring and repetitive. Like, okay, this is you know, but I think with space exploration, I think it's really cool. I think that's
Hmm.
makes more sense. And I wouldn't be surprised if they brought something like that into the world of the Elder Scrolls in the next installment.
Yeah.
And we'll be discussing it again, and we'll. I feel like I would not. I won't like it in the Elder Scrolls as much as I'm like. I think it can work in Starfield.
Like, I
Um.
can't help but feel like forcing base building
Mhm.
would be a good idea, but I can't deny, like, man, wouldn't it be cool if the story was impacted by, like, 1, if you decided to make a base,
Yeah.
or 2, how prominent the base becomes? Like, wouldn't it be
Mhm.
wh what got so many people interested in fucking Fable 2, despite all the fucking hollow promises, is when Molyneux was like, "Oh yeah, you could be the fucking mayor of that town, or you could be the
Yeah.
fucking the Duke Dick Sucky McAssballs of this city." And I was thinking to myself, "Wow, that's really fucking cool." When I got to that, it wasn't quite as enjoyable, but like, what if you could steer the story by becoming that mayor instead of just like becoming the mayor, right?
Yeah.
Like, doing the thing does not completely provide the enjoyment. Like, how that is influencing the story is the other thing, right? Like, what if what if for fucking uh Sky Oblivion Rim 6, like, the story can just progress, you can
Mhm.
play the game and beat it without even like interfering with the politics of this town, or
Yeah.
like, oh, you can become the mayor and you get a mission because of this, and it's like, oh, you can choose to like to do things in the town, or choose as part of the greater story what happens in this town,
Mhm.
right? Like,
Yeah.
it's not just I made a base, it's okay, well, what does that do for the role playing? Like, I get it. If you want to build a fucking base, that's part of the role playing. Like, it's the same thing as putting a fucking mohawk with fucking a speedo on your character. Like, that's still role playing. But I think what disenchants me is that that's it. It's just an aesthetic flourish that takes a lot of time to make, instead of a role playing choice that you can incorporate into the larger role playing story.
Right.
Like, I don't see how you could do anything with the ship personally. Or
Yeah.
no, maybe like depending on how your ship is built, you can't do certain missions. And not like, oh, you just can't reach it, but like, you're in the fucking mission, and fucking, oh, hey, so and so, we need this guy to tag along with you. Um and depending on like if you have a certain component in your like ship, he like bitches and moans like, "Oh, this ship won't make it because your components aren't. I wish we'd fucking known that." And like, you find out, like, I don't know, like, he damages the ship, and now you have to do something while on board your own ship. I don't fucking
Mm.
know. But that's what I mean, where it's like the role playing that they're incorporating in all this isn't just an aesthetic flourish
Okay.
anymore. Where it's
Yeah.
like, how do you incorporate it into a story where it like it feels like, man, I'm really glad I actually mined this extra stupid ore to build this extra wing in my habitat. Because if I hadn't had this, it wouldn't have contributed to the story. I don't know. I don't If I think it through, the idea of forcing stuff like that into like the story and being penalized or rewarded seems a little but I
Mhm.
do really like the idea of finding a way in the story to incorporate that, because
Yeah.
that's what's fulfilling to me, and not just like, okay, here's a base building simulator that they spent way too much time like making inside of a role playing game.
Yeah. Yeah, okay, I can get behind that. I mean, I guess because I don't know how popular it is,
Hmm.
outside of us, right? It could be a very popular feature that a lot of people, like I said, I know people who actually enjoyed it. Um, and the only reason they don't play Fallout 4 anymore or do that is because there's, life happens or other games come out, right? You just move on to the
Yeah,
next one. Like that's just how it is, and um you're right. It is probably a way for them to try to milk people to keep playing their game, for longer. Um, yeah, I can 100% see that, but I don't know. I think we'll see what happens with Starfield. Am I gonna get it? Not for its full value. I don't know if I'd um invest 60 to $70 depending how much they're gonna be charging for it.
all right, I'll get it for you.
No,
Sheesh.
not at
You
all.
don't need to whine. All
Like
you had to do is ask. I'd have gotten it for you.
I don't know, man. Like I think Fallout 4 kind of have just really made me sway away from Bethesda. Kind of
Yeah,
really
pulled the steam.
definitely opened my eyes to be like, man, like yeah, Fallout 3 at its time was good, but like also not the greatest,
Yeah.
and Oblivion was fantastic.
Hmm.
Skyrim was fucking fantastic. Like, does it deserve to be uh re-released for the PS4 and the
A
PS5?
million times
Yeah, a
over.
million times over. Maybe not, but
No.
it is a good game. You know what I mean? Like, it is a good game. I will 100% back up Skyrim and say it's a fantastic game. Um, so but with Fallout 4, I'm very like very hesitant about Bethesda. And because they're continuously they're continuously re-releasing Skyrim for, every console that comes out and shit, it's just like I don't know. I don't know how to
Yeah.
feel towards Starfield. You can make the argument like, "Oh, they've just been really working on Starfield for so long that, you know, that's why they just kept re-releasing Skyrim, whatever, blah blah blah." It's like, yeah, but I don't know if like, is it, that Bethesda knows like, hey, we peaked with Skyrim, you know,
Hmm.
uh, and that's it, right? People have been, I know people have been clamoring about like a Skyrim or a Fallout, but in space kind of thing, and they're giving it to them, but how good is it gonna be? And
Yeah.
that's what keeps me hesitant. The single player aspect is like, like I haven't sat down and played a single player game in a while. All my games have been
Hmm.
because I play with friends. So like sitting down to play a Starfield would probably, not be something that I'll do. Um, especially at full price. Um,
Yeah.
but because it is going to be in Game Pass, that's not a horrible thing, right? So people who have Game Pass are able to play it as soon as it launches. So that's pretty cool.
Hmm.
And I'll hear the reviews and whatnot. But
I'll
I don't
play it.
know.
I'll do it. You
Good,
fucking watch me. I'll do
it's
it.
fucking fantastic. But yeah, I mean, like, I think when they first announced it fucking years ago at this point, I was like, oh man, that's fucking cool. Like Fallout, but in space. It sounds awesome. But now that it's like basically around the corner, I'm kind of like, eh.
You're realizing how much of a Bethesda game Fallout in space is. And then you're
Yeah.
like, oh yeah.
Yeah. yeah, that's basically it. So I don't know. Well, so we'll see. But
We will see.
I'm behind with a lot of you what you just said. Um, but
Honestly,
yeah,
let's I'll probably find some way to play. Oh, no, fuck, it's wait, we don't need to fucking buy it. All I need to do is fucking download Game Pass. I'll give it a play and I'll I'll talk about it when it comes out. Give it 50 more podcast weeks.
yep. So one last thing that I want to bring up is I don't know if it's part of this Summer Game Fest thing, but Final Fantasy, I don't think it is because Final Fantasy VII has had its 25th anniversary. Um, and basically, they announced some stuff.
Mm,
Um, they announced basically a few remakes, right? Or like remasterings of things. They're re-releasing Final Fantasy VII Crisis Core, which is called Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII Reunion. It's basically a game that was only released on the PSP, um, but they're re-releasing it for PS4, PS5, and I believe also maybe the Xbox. I could be wrong. Could be
ew.
wrong. Um, they also uh talked about this battle royale game they have for the phone called Final Fantasy Seven Final Soldier or something like that.
Final
Uh,
Fantasy Battle Royale game?
yeah, it's kind of like you're a soldier and like you battle out and stuff like that. So I've seen gameplay. I've never played it. I don't plan to play it. It's it's not my cup of tea, but it's there. They also announced basically a remaking of like the original Final Fantasy 7 but with like new graphics and stuff like that. Um some audio where the original has no audio, right?
Hmm.
Or sorry, voiceovers, not audio, voiceovers. Um and stuff like that. So it was cool. But the big announcement was the sequel to Final Fantasy 7 remake, and it's gonna be coming
Ça
out.
pièce de résistance.
Yeah, it will be released next year winter. And it is called Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and they announced that it is gonna be a trilogy. So you'll have Final Fantasy VII Remake, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and a untitled Final Fantasy VII in the third slot. So we know that there's gonna be an ending, which is cool because in the original Final Fantasy VII, there's 3 discs in the PS1 version. So having 3 games is actually pretty cool because of that.
Mhm.
But yeah, they kind of showed a little bit of gameplay. It's basically the same as a remake. It's just continued story, which I'm excited about. Um, and it's definitely it's a new story.
Mm.
Like there are things that are happening that are in the original game, but they're adding to it because they're not uh, limited to what they can show and do. So I'm excited. I like that they announced a date. The only thing that's bugging me is I have to buy a PS5. um,
Get
I
fucked.
Yeah, so I have until next year winter time when this releases. They don't have an actual date yet, but once they have an actual date, I have to get a PS5 before that comes out.
I
Um,
got you.
and PS5s are not easy to come by.
For now,
Yeah,
they're like what, a couple million people on the planet. I can wait.
yeah. I just there's a lot of people who are looking to get a PS5 for market value. minimum, you know.
Damn.
So hopefully, you know,
My boy needs a PlayStation.
hopefully this this winter they come out with more for the holiday season. If not
Oh yeah.
next year's holiday season, you know. So the PS5 came out what 2020? It's been
Oh, I
two.
have no idea.
Yeah, it came out
Time
20.
is a construct while COVID is in effect.
Uh, um, yeah, it came out 2020, winter of 2020, holidays 2020. Um, and so it's been almost 2 years since it's been released. Um, uh, hopefully, like I said, this year they have a massive amount of PS5s and they get dumped, and I can buy it for cheap on Black Friday or Cyber Monday, and fine. But we'll
Gotta buy the
see.
thing flat out. Just to be the ultimate flex. Come on now.
Dude, how much did they announce for it to be? Like 500? Man, I don't know, dude. I don't know if I can shell out that much money. I mean, I have money saved up, but
Got you, boy.
I also have to buy the game, and games aren't
Fucking got you.
games aren't $60 anymore. If it's
Why
a game on the
can't get certain
PS5
games, but I
or the
got you on
Xbox Series X, it's 70. I I
everything.
I don't know why they are like, "Hey, let's raise the price." Like, why?
Mm.
like
I fuck with you.
and it's not even like, "Oh, the digital version's cheaper." It's just like, "Nope, whether you buy it physically or you buy the digital version, we're going to charge you the same amount."
Yeah.
Cool.
I think that's another scammy kind of thing too. Games, game consoles, personal consoles have always been catered to like an upper middle class
Mhm.
group. I mean, of course, like yeah, like all walks of people are buying these, but like it's never been particularly easy to just drop. I think it's safe to say about like $650 for what? Like I don't think in any situation that's easy to shill out that kind of money
Yeah.
uh for like a game console and a couple games, two at the very least, right?
Yeah,
I
exactly.
wonder adjusting for inflation what like an NES or an SNES or a Nintendo 64 were in their respective areas adjusting for price now.
Yeah, I have no idea, but I don't know, man. It's
It is.
it is. Um, but yeah, we'll see. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm not excited to buy a PS5, but
I fucking got you, Holmes. Fucking got you.
it's just I don't know, man. Like, yeah, like I want a PS5. You know, I'm a PlayStation fanboy. You know, I'm not gonna beat around the bush. That's just
Or
yeah. You know, that's who I am. But at the same time, like I bought a PS4, right? I bought a PS4 uh for $200 with three like big games, right? Forbidden or was it
Horizon.
Horizon Zero Dawn, God of War, and The Last of Us remastered. Um and yeah, dude, those were fucking big games at the time. And
God damn right they are.
yeah, I'm fucking like I bought that for $200. Like that was a it
Damn,
was a
fucking
good deal. But
deal man over here.
but um I know I'm not gonna get a PS5 for that value. Oh man, I'm not excited to spend money on a PS5. But it
You got this. I believe in you, okay?
yeah, and the thing is, the only reason I bought a PS4 at the time was for Final Fantasy VII Remake. So,
Mhm.
it just,
That's how they get you.
yeah, no, 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 you're right. You're not wrong about that. That's how they got me the first time, and they're getting me the second time, and it's my fault at this point, right? First time,
Uh,
shame on you. Second time, shame on me.
what is it, the adage by Bush? "Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, can't keep fooling again."
Ah,
Uh,
but oh, you wanted it here?
what?
No, no.
What? What the fuck are you saying?
Saying, do you want to end it here? It's midnight.
Do I wanna end it? Jesus, you wanna get rid of me so fast?
Cheese its.
Jeez. God. Fine,
Mm-hmm.
folks. You really like this content of Harry just bailing, then I suggest, uh, fucking maybe you check on YouTube for Hitting the Mark with Harry and Mark, or if you wanna talk
Mm.
about how much fucking Harry's bailing and not, like, me before the podcast mentioning that this could be a short, fucking podcast, uh, you can fucking hit us up on email with fucking hitting the mark 2020 at gmail.com, all one fucking word.
All
Or
one word.
if you want to keep up to date with how fucking much Harry just bails on me, it's not like I totally did that last night because I was fucking sleepy. You can hit me up on fucking Twitter at capital H, capital T, capital M underscore podcast. Once again, HTM underscore podcast. Folks, we love what we do,
Mm-hmm.
and we do stuff that we like
Yes.
because I don't love anything
Mm.
the way I like a nice, stiff beer. No, I don't know. I don't know what I'm saying. Anyway, people, fuck you. We'll see you next week.
Bye bye.
Bye bye. Auf Wiedersehen.